Back to Jimmy Barrett. Jimmy Barrett on KPRC 950.
It is 3:34 now here on AM 950 KPRC, Jimmy Barrett program here in Houston, Texas. We are getting ready for the NCAA tournament. I've only filled out one side of my bracket so far. But, by the way, I put a lot of attention and a lot of research into this. Yeah, I do. I just go with my gut. I think that's probably what most people do. Bobby Albert is going to join us now. Trying to fight this at work, I think, is a futile mistake. In fact, maybe this is an opportunity to, rather than fight it, to build a little morale with it. Bobby is a workplace strategist. He's written a book called Principled Profits. Outward Success is an Inside Job. Ooh, I like that. Bobby, welcome to AM 950 KPRC.
Well, thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to be on your show.
I'd like to see if you can build any street cred with me here. Have you filled out your bracket yet?
Well, no, I haven't, but I am going to enjoy watching these basketball games. And, it's quite interesting. There's so much emphasis. And, of course, the other piece of this is in the workplace of, basketball fans filling out their brackets like you're talking about for this March Madness picks. And it's going to take on for the next 3 weeks. So, in the workplace, it's a pretty significant undertaking. But it's very interesting that a lot of workplaces are encouraging this as a morale booster, and therefore it will increase productivity. What's so interesting about this is that it's no substitution to be working for a bad boss already and to work in a poor workplace culture. And through research, it has found that if a leader chooses to want to increase morale and increase productivity in the workplace, there are 5 things that the employees are really looking for, and that is, do you care for me as a person? Do I belong here? In other words, do I fit here? Can I contribute toward the goals of this company? Does this company stand for something? And do you create a learning environment that I can do the best job I can do?
Wow. And of all the things you mentioned, you didn't mention the word raise, not once, or bonus.
No, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
But the sad part about all this is in this research and it was a massive sampling, over 1 million employees and over 85,000 companies, and they found that only 33% of the employees felt like their company was engaging them in that way.
Wow, that's sad. Do you think it's because, and you see this all the time. I mean, companies have gotten bigger and bigger. There's not a lot of mom and pop shops left anymore to work for. A lot of folks are working for big companies, and the bigger they get, the more impersonal they get.
Well, that is a very challenging for large companies, but it is amazing. A lot of small businesses are not very well run, and they're run by what some people would consider bad bosses and a poor workplace environment.
Okay, as part of the problem here, I don't mean to segue completely away from basketball. We'll get back into that in a second. But let's talk a little bit here about how people become bosses. Most of it doesn't seem to have to do a whole lot with personality. It has more to do with results. In other words, somebody upstairs sees that you're getting results, whatever the results are. They don't seem to much care what you're doing to get those results, and what you're doing to get those results might be negative to the point where it'll only work for so long.
Well, you're exactly right. There's something with many leaders. They feel like that all they can think about is give me results, give me results, give me results. Basically, they're telling the employees, I want more money, I want more money, and I want more money. And employees are really, they want to do a good job, but there's this huge gap between the employer that says, give me results, and these 5 things that I just mentioned. There's a huge gap there.
I wonder, too, managing people is I think complicated by the fact that we not only do you still have baby boomers who are in the workforce because they're working longer because they have to because they haven't saved up anything for retirement. You've got Generation Xers and you got the millennials all trying to commingle with each other, and they all operate on different systems.
Well, that's very interesting you bring this up because not only that, we got these what's called the Generation Zs that are coming right behind the millennials. I mean, we're going to run out of the alphabet here, but it's one thing is very interesting in this huge survey that I just mentioned. No matter what generation, they are all looking for those 5 things. Isn't that amazing?
Wow. So we all have that in common.
Yes, we all have that in common, even though, like you said, you got the boomers on one end and the millennials that are on the other end. And it's really very interesting. We're all looking for the same thing from our employers.
Wow. Okay. Well, that makes life a little bit... the only thing, it's still a little bit complicated because to make them feel that they're getting those results, they all react in different ways. They're all motivated by different things, aren't they?
Well, they do. People do have come to work for different reasons. But, one thing is very clear that is important in the workplace, and I call it the essentials of a true north business. And that is if the leader can communicate clearly their core values, their purpose, their vision, and what they want to accomplish every day, that is important to the employees.
To get back to the whole NCAA basketball tournament, I think it's been, and I'm sure you've seen it, Bobby Albert, there's tons of stories out there about lost productivity, and it's going to be billions of dollars worth of lost productivity over the course of the better part 2 weeks while people follow the NCAA tournament. What they don't talk about, and I think you kind of alluded to, is you may have some lost productivity, but if you are improving employee morale, then you're going to make up for it at the other end.
Another very interesting point you bring up, because in the workplace culture, it's the fruit and not the goal. And when a leader chooses to, in their mind, they think if my employees are having fun and they're happy, they'll be more productive, therefore I make more money. If the leader is doing, encouraging the March Madness, filling out the brackets and and choosing your picks of the teams and things like that for the sole reason that you'll get more results, it's turned that into a goal rather than doing all the right things in the workplace and let your productivity come from just beautiful fruit that is produced by doing the right things.
Now, you believe in letting the employees fill out brackets. Do you believe in letting them watch the games at work?
Well, it is it's important for the employer to set some boundary lines. And let me say this: productivity, there's a chance it may drop. I know a lot of people say you got this huge, losing billions of dollars and things, but the truth is that every employee, it's overestimated how productive employees really are in the workplace. Can you just imagine coming in every day because your employer want results, is to press against the wall with your hand as hard as you can for 8 hours every day? It's just not realistic.
Yeah.
So there is lost productivity in the workplace regardless of the March Madness. So,
Gotcha. Can you hold that thought, Bobby? We need to take a quick break, but I want to come back and do a little more with you here in just a moment. We're visiting with Bobby Albert. He's a workplace strategist, the author of Principled Profits, Outward Success, I should say, is an inside job. More with Bobby in a couple of minutes on AM 950 KPRC.
KPRC 950.
Just about 3:50 now here on AM 950 KPRC. We're visiting with Bobby Albert. He's a workplace culture expert. He's written a book, Principled Profits, Outward Success is an Inside Job. Speaking of principles, this is a little off topic. I don't mean to throw you a curveball, Bobby, but I'm sure you've been watching like everybody else what's happened with University of Southern California and Yale and some of these other schools that have had coaches in some cases administrators involved in basically a bribe us enough and we'll get your kid into school situation where, faking tests and all sorts of things. Some Hollywood types have been caught up in this, including Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin. What has happened to ethics? Do you think we've lost a little bit on the ethics thing, that people are willing, for the sake of helping their kids or whatever the case may be, are willing to suspend what ethical things they've learned in the course of life?
I really do, and that's a really I'm sad to hear what has taken place with this scandal of people paying very large funds and people violating their integrity, and it's a sad moment. And to me, the definition of integrity is doing the right thing regardless of the consequence. Now, what do we tend to do? We when we have a decision to make, we look at the consequence, and if we like it or don't like what the potential consequences are going to be, we work backwards from that point to make our decisions. And even if it violates our integrity, we'll tend to make a lot of wrong decisions. And I put this in a category in the book that you mentioned, my Principal Prophets book. I have a whole chapter in there about principle versus expediency. And what we're talking about, people, there's something in our culture that we're moving very rapidly to making expedient decisions. What is the quickest, the fastest, that I can get what I want, and it's driven by self-centeredness and selfishness.
Yeah, William Macy is Felicity Huffman's husband. He did an interview back in February with Men's Journal. It's kind of ironic looking at what's going on with their family right now. He talked about the best advice he ever got was to never lie, saying it's the cheapest way to go. Lies cost you a lot, and they're never worth what they cost. And now they are. He's getting a real world example of that. The problem seems to be is that most of us seem to understand that the rules apply for other people. The question is, do we understand that the rules apply to us as well?
Well, we're losing that. One thing, our country was founded on two core values, and we're losing one of them very rapidly. One of them, we've got it down, is freedom. But the other core value is responsibilities. If you just think about it, in the Constitution there are a Bill of Rights, and everybody's got their rights down. I mean, just think about it. Everybody is always asking, well, what are my rights? What are my rights? The thing that we're losing is in the Constitution. Isn't it amazing? Is that we don't have a Bill of Responsibility. And people back at that time when the country was formulating, people had a very clear understanding of what it meant to be responsible. And we're losing, there's something in our culture right now is I can say whatever I want to say about whoever I want to, when I want to say it, and how I want to say it. And without any repercussion or consequences of being responsible for that. And there's something we've got to grasp and get back to before we lose these wonderful freedoms. I call it the freedom paradox. As we continue down this path of behavior of being less and less responsible, we're going to lose our freedoms.
Well, that's well said, sir. I appreciate you saying that. What's even more interesting to me is that we believe in all those rights for ourselves, but we don't seem to have the same belief for others who disagree with us.
Yes, exactly.
All of a sudden, they don't have the same rights we do.
Yeah, exactly.
We see that on our college campuses. I think that's a great example of it. With conservative college students, they don't have a safe place for themselves. Colleges are setting up all these safe places for all these different fringe groups, but certainly conservative kids are a fairly fringe group on a college campus, but they don't have a safe place. They don't have a place where they can go and have a discussion on conservative values without feeling like they're going to pay an ultimate price for that. Maybe even be physically attacked.
Well, one thing, going back to this scandal, like you mentioned here, where people got their kids in colleges, big name schools and things like that. What it tells me that, and I'm seeing this trend, I've seen it for years, but I'm seeing it just accelerating, is, the old, I don't hear the term very often anymore, but it's the helicopter parents. There's an interesting quote, and it's by a lady that I can't remember her name, but what she says is prepare the child for the path, not the path for the child.
Yeah.
And many parents are trying to protect their children, try to make all of the decisions for them, cram their schedule full of sports and coaches and teachers and just on. And when they get to college and then eventually in the workplace, they don't know how to be responsible because somebody out there is always taking care of them. And in the future, where these students are going, they think in their mind that it's the government that's always going to be the one that's going to take care of them.
Yep. Another great point to make. I know you're talking about the acceleration of this. We've gone from lawnmower parents or helicopter parents to lawnmower parents, and now there's a new term coming out called snowplow parents.
Yeah,
which should tell you all you need to know about how this whole thing's accelerating. Bobby, I enjoyed talking to you. Thank you for being on the show today. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you. It's been enjoyable.
Bobby Albert is workplace strategist, the author of Principled Profits, Outward Success is an Inside Job. If you want to check his book out, that's pretty cool.